Imagine a room that smells of old paper, floor wax, and just absolute terror.
Oh, yeah. The classic principal's office vibe.
Exactly. You are standing in what feels like a high-stakes military tribunal, but it is actually a school. And on one side, you have a student who is brilliant, poetic, but currently gripping a broom handle like it is a broadsword.
And on the other side, you have the quote-unquote perfect student, the teacher's pet, who looks completely innocent, even though he's the architect of the entire chaos.
Right. It is a scene that plays out in schools every day, but rarely with this kind of literary weight.
Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today, we are unpacking a very specific, very intense, dramatic text.
It is titled Texte Collée, specifically Act 2, Scenes 1 through 4.
And our mission today is to really unpack the tragic misunderstanding between these two students. We're looking at systematic bullying, the price of pride, and how institutional rules often punish the reaction rather than the provocation.
Which is incredibly relevant even today. But we should probably drop the curtain right away on who we are actually talking about here. Yeah, let's do that. Because the name of our protagonist is Savinien. And if you know your literary history, that name should ring a massive bell for you.
It definitely should, because we are basically looking at the origin story of Savinien de Cyrano.
Better known to the world as Cyrano de Bergerac.
Exactly. Before the plays, before the panache, the legendary duels.
He was just a kid at the Collège de Beauvais trying to survive high school.
Right, so we aren't just analyzing a random school fight. We are analyzing the psychological forge that created one of literature's most complex heroes.
And it really is a forge. The source material paints this school, the Collège de Beauvais, not as a place of learning, but as a place of austere roles. It is a rigid hierarchy governed by the rector, Jean Grancher.
Silence and obedience are the currency there. And into this rigid system steps Savinien. He's young, idealistic, and frankly, carrying a massive chip on his shoulder regarding a certain facial feature.
I mean, let's start with his arrival in Paris, because the text gives us this beautiful contrast right out of the gate. Savinien arrives, opens his window, and basically swoons.
He really does.
He says something like, "Every cobblestone breathes life." He sees Paris as this vibrating entity of history and glory. He is actively looking for romance.
But the city, or rather the people in it, immediately slap that romance right out of his hands.
Yeah.
You have this character, Margot. She's a servant or a companion to his aunt, and she is the voice of crushing reality.
No.
Savinien talks about glory, and Margot talks about unpaid rents and humiliated brows.
She is essentially telling him, you think this is a poem? No, this is a marketplace.
Precisely. She warns him. She says, "Do you think renown is won without crawling?"
Yeah.
And that right there is the thematic stake of our entire deep dive today.
Yeah.
To survive in Paris, you have to crawl. You have to bend.
And Savinien's entire character arc is defined by his absolute refusal to do that.
Yeah.
But he gets that stubbornness from somewhere, right? We have to talk about Aunt Catherine.
Oh, absolutely.
Because in a lot of stories, the aunt is just a background figure. But Catherine sounds like a force of nature.
She is incredible. She is a widow, around 45 years old. And in 17th century Paris, that usually means you are extremely vulnerable.
Right. Women didn't have a lot of structural power.
Exactly. But she explains that she manages her own houses, her own accounts. She tells Savinien she has no master, no lord to whom she renders accounts. She has built this total fortress of independence.
Which, I mean, is dangerous for a woman in that era. If you're that independent, you're a target.
She knows that.
Yeah.
And she tells Savinien that the only reason she survives is knowledge. She literally says knowledge is the rampart against servitude.
Wow.
Yeah. If you know the laws, the numbers, the texts, they cannot own you. But, and here is the fatal flaw in her advice, she thinks Savinien can survive the exact same way.
Oh, I see where this is going.
She tells him, be the master of your own name. She warns him that Paris respects force, and if he bends, he will be broken.
Master of your own name. I mean, that sounds inspiring on a motivational poster. But she is sending him to a strict boarding school. Telling a teenage boy to never bend and to always be a master before dropping him into a hierarchy like the Collège de Beauvais, isn't she basically setting him up to fail?
She is handing him a loaded gun and telling him it's a diploma.
Seriously.
She demands that he have a high forehead but a low voice. But Savinien, he doesn't do low voice. Yeah. He physically cannot do it.
And that friction starts the very moment he meets the rector, Jean Grancher. Because Grancher seems like the kind of administrator who values quiet way more than he values right.
Absolutely. Grancher values tact.
Yeah.
He warns Savinien that his mind only matters if it serves the quote-unquote light. not pride.
He wants conformity.
He does. And he has the perfect model of conformity sitting right there in the office, Claude de Montfleury.
The antagonist. And the fascinating thing is, Montfleury isn't a thug. He isn't stealing lunch money in the hallway.
No.
He is the star pupil.
Which is exactly what makes him so dangerous.
Yeah.
Montfleury is the rector's absolute favorite. He excels in Latin verse. We see him present a notebook to Granger and basically get patted on the head.
He knows how to play the game.
Oh, perfectly.
Yeah.
He performs the role of the good student flawlessly.
But Savinien sees right through him. Or maybe Savinien is just jealous. Because the first thing Savinien does is insult him.
He does.
He asks if Montfleury is related to the Montfleurys at the theater.
Right, which is a highly calculated insult. You have to remember, in this time period, actors were often seen as low status. It was almost scandalous.
So Savinien is implying Montfleury comes from a trashy background.
Yes. He even asks if his uncle gets booed on stage. It is Savinien trying to assert dominance exactly the way his aunt taught him. Make yourself respected.
But Montfleury, he knows exactly where Savinien's weak point is. He doesn't attack Savinien's family. He goes straight for the nose.
The nose insults in this text are absolutely brutal. And honestly, they are much sharper than Savinien's insult.
Yeah, they sting.
Montfleury calls it a promontory. He asks how Savinien manages to even get through doorways. And then the one that really lands, he says, if you blow your nose, the inkwell will go out to sea.
That is, I know I shouldn't laugh, but that is a deeply creative burn. The inkwell takes to the sea.
It is witty, yes, but it is incredibly cruel. He is dehumanizing Savinien right in front of the ultimate authority figure.
And it works.
It completely works. Savinien, the boy who promised to be master of himself, just loses it. He punches Montfleury right there in the office.
And the trap snaps shut. Because now, the rector doesn't see a boy defending himself against verbal abuse.
No.
He just sees a violent new kid punching his star student.
Exactly. So Granger intervenes and sets the ground rules. He calls them two lions in the same cage. But he issues a very specific ultimatum to Savinien.
Right.
He says, one more slip up, just one. And it is immediate expulsion for the instigator.
This is essentially the zero-tolerance policy centuries before it even had a name.
Yes. And think about what that does to the power dynamic. Granger has just handed Montfleury the ultimate weapon.
Because Montfleury knows he can't beat Savinien in a fair fistfight.
Exactly. But now, he doesn't have to throw a single punch. All he has to do is provoke Savinien one more time, and the system itself will remove his rival for him.
So the battlefield shifts. We move out of the office and into the school gallery, and this is where we see what I can only describe as a social siege. Montfleury goes to work isolating him.
It is chillingly effective to watch. We see Montfleury helping the other students with their Latin scansion. He's citing arma vium caecano.
Being the benevolent leader.
Right, the helper.
Yeah.
He cements his status as the unquestioned center of the social universe.
While Savinien is literally scrubbing floors, he has already been grouped with the punished students. He is completely radioactive at this point.
He really is.
His only friend is this character, Jacques Lobregat. And Lobregat is such an interesting counterpoint in this story.
He really is. Lobregat is described as a mute, or at least someone very quiet, a drinker, an observer. He clearly sees the truth of what's happening, but he has absolutely no voice in the school hierarchy.
He's a pariah.
Right. Which unfortunately just drags Savinien down even further by association.
But Savinien actually tries to fix it. This part really surprised me when I was reading the source material. He swallows his pride. He goes up to Montfleury and tries to apologize.
He does. He admits he was quote-unquote too quick and that he lacked the school's codes.
He does what the system wants him to do. He tries to make peace.
And this is where Montfleury reveals that he is not just a good student. He is a sadist.
Yeah.
He flat out rejects the apology. He tells Savinien, you want us to forget? No. He frames Savinien as this brute invader who insulted his family's honor.
And then he gives him that ultimatum, crawl or leave.
Crawl or leave. There was no middle ground offered. And Montfleury rallies the rest of the students to ensure Savinien is completely iced out. It is textbook psychological warfare.
He is just tightening the screws day by day.
Waiting for the explosion.
And he knows exactly how to trigger it, which leads us to the inciting incident, the pen.
Yes. The plume d'espérance.
The pen of hope. This scene honestly broke my heart reading it, because up until now, it has mostly just been ego versus ego. But this object completely changes the stakes.
It does. Paint the picture for us.
So Savinien is scrubbing the floor. He is symbolically already low, already crawling physically, Montfleury and his little court approach him, and one of Montfleury's henchmen spots this pen belonging to Savinien.
The source describes it as intricate, beautiful. It is very clearly not a standard issue school supply.
Right. So the henchman, the spoiler, steals it. He holds it hostage, and he forces Savinien to beg. He literally tells him, say please.
And Savinien, he actually does it.
He breaks dance code. He says, s'il te plaît.
That moment is so crucial. Why does he submit? Because the text heavily hints that this pen is connected to his mother.
Right. He whispers my mother when it happened.
Exactly. This pen represents the softness he left behind. It is the last piece of his heart that hasn't hardened into armor yet, and he's willing to humiliate himself to save that one connection.
He gives them the submission they demanded. He plays by their twisted rules. And what do?
The henchman just drops the pen on the stone floor and crushes it under his heel. Crack.
That sound, it is not just a pen breaking.
No, it really isn't. It is the destruction of the social contract. Savinien did everything right according to the rules of conflict resolution. He apologized, he begged, he said please.
And they destroyed the thing he loved anyway.
Which proves to him definitively that tact and rules are a complete lie. The only actual truth in this place is violence.
So he gives them violence, he grabs a broom and just goes berserk. It is not a duel anymore, it is a full-on riot.
Bergerac jumps in to help him.
It's total chaos. And of course, because the universe loves irony, this is the exact moment Rector Grangier walks into the room.
Grangier sees the tableau. He sees Savinien wielding a weapon, standing over a fallen student. He doesn't see the crushed pen. He didn't hear the insults. He just sees the disruption of his precious order.
Which brings us to the hearing. The aftermath in Grangier's office. And this is where the true character of Savinien de Cyrano really emerges for me.
How so?
Because Grangier actually gives him a chance. He asks him why he fought. He is practically begging for an explanation so he doesn't have to expel him.
And Savinien refuses to give one.
Exactly. He just says, I struck. It is a fact. Je ne le nie point. I do not deny it.
He employs tactical silence.
But why? Why not scream, they crushed my mother's pen? Why not say they have been torturing me for weeks? Any modern kid in that situation would scream, he started it.
Because of the code. Never crawl. Never complain. To explain himself to Grangier would be to cast himself as a victim.
Right.
It would be an appeal for pity. In Savinien's mind, if he explains the bullying, he is letting them win. He would rather be expelled as a quote-unquote monster who kept his dignity than stay in the school as a victim who had to ask for mercy.
That is, strictly speaking, that is incredibly self-destructive.
Yeah.
But it is also weirdly noble. He's basically taking the bullet to keep his shield up.
It is the absolute birth of the Cyrano philosophy. The idea of, I may lose everything, but I will not lose my panache. He chooses silence as a weapon.
But Anne-Catherine, she is not bound by that code. When she finds out, she goes nuclear.
Oh, she becomes the voice of the audience in that scene. She screams at the injustice of it all.
She points right at Montfleury, who is standing there acting like the innocent witness.
Yes, she calls out the blatant favoritism. Montfleury, the protected nephew of a good name, goes free, while Savinien, who has nothing but his honor, is expelled.
She accuses Grangier of protecting the golden cage of privilege.
She tells him to his face that he prefers the comfort of the lie to the messiness of the truth.
She calls him a coward, which, let's be honest, he kind of is.
He is a bureaucrat.
Yeah.
And bureaucrats stick to the rule. Violence equals exclusion. So he expels Savinien.
But there is a twist here.
There is. Grangier admits he actually respects the boy. He tells him, your silence honors you, but it does not save you.
Your silence honors you, but it does not save you. That feels like a brutal life lesson right there. Honor doesn't always save you.
No, it doesn't. But the preceptor, the teacher who is also in the room, he sees something else entirely.
Yeah, he steps in.
He suggests that the Collège de Beauvais is actually just too small for a spirit like Savinien. He says he needs air, space, combat.
And he suggests a new path, the military, specifically the cadets.
The cadets. And he mentions a Gascon captain who might appreciate exactly that kind of fire.
This is the bridge to the legend.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Gascons were legendary for being hot-headed, brave, poetic, and slightly unmanageable. The teacher's basically saying, this kid doesn't belong in a classroom. He belongs at a legend.
And Aunt Catherine accepts this. She takes the blow with her head held high. She says, if Paris closes a door, we will open a bigger one.
Which is such a phenomenal line.
It really is. But the story doesn't end with them leaving the office. The final beat actually belongs to the rector.
Right. The room clears out. It is quiet again. And Grangier spots something on the floor.
He finds the broken nib of the plume d'espérance, the physical evidence of the provocation.
And in that singular moment, the bureaucrat realizes what actually happened.
He realizes that the violence wasn't just random aggression.
Exactly. It was a reaction to a secret tragedy. He asks himself, what word was this boy keeping locked in his silence?
Wow.
It is a moment of profound, heavy regret. The system, quote-unquote, worked. It successfully expelled the violent student, but justice failed completely.
Grandier realizes that by enforcing the rigid letter of the law, he completely crushed the spirit of the truth. It is a heavy ending. We always think of Cyrano as the swashbuckling, confident hero, but this origin story is a tragedy. He didn't choose the sword because he loved fighting. He chose the sword because the world broke his pen.
That is the key takeaway of this entire text. Montfleury and the school system effectively killed the scholar Savinien.
Yeah.
They taught him that words, apologies, poems, they simply do not work against bullies. Only force works.
So they created the warrior Cyrano. It really makes you look at zero-tolerance policies a little differently, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It highlights how institutions are often terrible at distinguishing between the person who starts the fire and the person who gets burned trying to put it out.
Right. We punish the reaction because it is loud and visible.
And we ignore the provocation because it is subtle and quiet.
Montfleury destroyed a life without ever technically breaking a rule, while Savinien defended his dignity and lost everything.
But he kept his name. He walked out of there with his forehead high. And in the end, for Savinien, that is the only victory he actually cared about.
So here is the provocative thought I want to leave you with today. Thinking about our own lives, whether it is in a boardroom, a classroom, or even just interacting on social media, how many Montfleuries are operating right now?
Staying just inside the rules while pushing someone else to the absolute breaking point.
Exactly. And when that person finally snaps, do we just blindly punish the explosion? Or do we take a moment to look for the broken pen on the floor?
That is the question we should all be asking ourselves.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We will see you on the next one.
Take care, everyone.